Hey, are you looking to ride safely in Bali? Because I'm going to show you what I learned when I first started riding here. Trust me, some of these things I wish I'd known before getting on the bike myself. All right, we've arrived at this plaza and I'm going to show you around the bike and what you actually need to ride one. Of course, the first thing is the key. Put the key in your bike and turn it once. Then you'll be able to press the seat button, which will open up the seat. Here you can store your belongings and you also have the gas tank here. Then we move on to the actual bike and handlebars. Very important are the mirrors. You adjust them when you're seated. Make sure the bike is straight and you adjust them. You have to see behind you to make sure that you're aware of what's going on around you. Then you have the brakes. The left one is the back brake and the right one is the front brake. The front brake is quite aggressive and it slows you down a lot faster. And the back brake is a bit more gentle. It's more for like control and just smoothly slowing down. Then we have the blinkers, but for that I need to turn on the electrics of the bike. So flip the key again and that will turn on your electrics. It'll turn on your headlights. If you have a digital display, it will also be turned on. From here on the left side you have the blinkers. Flip it left to go to the left, flip it right to turn on the right one, and then press it in the middle to just turn them off. Now you're actually kind of ready to start the bike. So to start the bike, usually you have to hold the front brake and then flip the ignition switch. I'm doing that right now, but nothing's happening. Why is that? That's because, very important thing, you have to put away the kickstand, just like that, and then you'll be able to start your bike. As you can see, the bike has started, the engine is running, but I'm not moving. That's normal. To start moving on the bike, you have to use the acceleration handle, which is on the right. You twist it towards you and that will slowly move the bike. You can hear the bike noise, making noise, and I'm gently just twisting the handle and it's kind of moving forward. Before that, let's stop the bike. So I can do that with putting down the kickstand again, or I can just turn off the bike with the key. Make sure that when you turn off the bike, you take the key out, because if you leave them in, you have a chance of draining the battery. If you drain the battery, you won't be able to start the bike. So you're going to have to call someone to rescue you. Then we have the attire. So what do you need to wear to ride a bike? Of course, the first thing is clothes. Make sure you wear a t-shirt, pants or shorts. Don't ride around with no t-shirt. That's not allowed. And then the very, very, very important thing is the helmet. You must wear this no matter what. Number one safety rule. So put on the helmet and then clip it in. Don't drive around without an unclipped helmet, because if an accident does happen, boom, it comes off and it's basically as if you're not wearing a helmet. And then we have the documents. So you're gonna have an international driving permit. I keep mine in the little bag that I have here. I just put it over my shoulder, just like that. And I always have it with me. The other thing is make sure you have your actual driving license as well. So I keep it in my wallet, which I keep in here as well. I've never been stopped, but from what I heard, you have to have them both. Then the last thing is the actual bike documents. There's a little permit, and when you rent a bike, they'll usually just chuck it in the seat and you kind of just forget about it. Just make sure that you see them, put it there, and you'll have no issues. And then the last thing is the fuel type. So make sure you fuel your bike with the correct fuel. There's Petromax and Petrolite. Just ask the person who you're renting the bike from which fuel type to use. So usually it's going to be Petromax. I think we're ready to start riding. Let's go! All right, and now I'm gonna show you how to actually ride the bike. So there are two things that you're gonna remember. The first thing is acceleration and the next thing are the brakes. So that's the only thing you got to do, because most of the bikes in Bali are actually automatic. No gear shifting or anything like that. So the acceleration. To accelerate, as I mentioned before, you got to twist the handle. You can do this very gently, and you can hear the bike making noise. The harder you do it, the more power you give to the bike, and then the bike starts moving. If you let go of the acceleration, the bike actually slows down. So the engine will slow down the bike. So if you want to just slow down without using your brake, just kind of relax your hand and let go of the acceleration handle. Of course, if you're going very slowly, the bike won't have enough time to slow yourself down, so that's when you're going to use your brake, and of course in other scenarios too. A lot of the handles have some wiggle room to them. That's normal. Each bike is different and has its own little quirks. Let me show you how to carefully ride a little circle and explain what I'm doing. I'm going to slowly put on the acceleration, and then I'm going to move forward. Here we go. As I accelerate, I'm going to put my feet inwards, and then keeping the acceleration steady, I'm going to turn. The faster I go, the easier it is to balance. But if you're going slow, you can actually put your feet out and then control yourself. This is going to be a very common occurrence when you're in traffic. So you can put your feet out and give yourself some balance. Because yeah, like I said, the slower you go, the harder it is to balance. Start slow, maybe find a place similar to this. Don't go to any busy areas like Canggu or Seminyak, because there's a lot of traffic and you're going to have a hard time to practice riding the bike. We're going to drop this place on Google Maps, so check the description. And just even around this area, the roads are quite big and you can ride pretty safely on them. Another important thing when you're riding the bike is to make sure that you're aware of what's around you. Make sure that when you're riding, you're not just looking just in front of you, you know, a few meters in front of you. Make sure you look quite far ahead, and that way you'll be able to react to what's happening. The last thing you want to do is someone braking in front of you and you're also braking and the person behind you crashing into you. So make sure you react in the good time. If, let's say, you're overtaking someone, don't wait until the last moment. Make sure you plan it out, check your mirrors, and then perform the maneuver very smoothly. Don't make any sharp turns or very, very hard brakes. And that's about it for these tips on how to ride the bike. Let me show you some riding clips and show you some of the rules and etiquette on the Bali streets. All right, so this section is going to be kind of short just because the rules here are, let's just say they're not actually concrete rules and more of a suggestion. Of course, there are official rules, but most of the time the local drivers here don't actually follow them to the T. So let's just start off with the signs. Actually, probably the lack of signs. There's just not as many signs as there would be back home in England. But of course there are signs, for example, just yellow signs that warn you from things, blue signs to tell you what to do, green signs for information, and just like red signs to prohibit you from doing something. So yeah, basic signs like that. It's just not as much as you would expect in any Western country. That also means speed signs aren't that common here. I've probably seen speed signs mostly on the toll road and just randomly placed on some roads. I'm not sure what the logic there is, but yeah. So how do you know how fast to drive? The best way to know is to just drive with the flow of the traffic. Try to just stick behind someone and just follow them. Speed here even changes during different days of time. So on one road in the day you could be going 30, in the evening you could be going 50, 60, you know, it's very different here. But as a rule, I would say stick to 30 in residential roads, you know, like some smaller roads. If you're going down some alleyway, obviously go much slower. On slightly larger roads or urban areas, stick to about 50-ish. And then if you're using intercity roads or just like those really long highways, you can go all the way to like 70, 80. Some people go to 100. It's pretty insane. And of course, you must wear a helmet here. I'm gonna mention it again. It's so important. If the police sees you, you're definitely gonna be stopped and fined if you don't have one. Includes the passenger too. So be careful with that. The other thing is traffic lights. Obviously, follow the rules. Stop when it's red. You'll definitely see locals just riding even if it's red. Don't be the guy that does the same thing and gets stopped, because you're much more likely for that to happen. So just stop at traffic lights and just kind of move out the way and let other people get past you, because you don't want to be, blocking the road and getting people mad. Another thing with traffic lights is that there's quite a lot of orange traffic lights which just blink. That just means you can go. It also means you have to be cautious, because there's going to be other drivers that are probably merging into the same direction or coming from different directions. So just be careful when you do that. Another thing, this is kind of mostly for pedestrian, but obviously as a rider you're going to be aware of this. Zebra crossings are kind of a suggestion. Obviously officially you have to stop, but most people don't. But if you do decide to stop, just be aware that people behind you might not know. So just check your mirrors before stopping at a zebra crossing. From what I experienced, there was not even a single time where someone stopped for me to walk at a zebra crossing. So yeah. The other thing is overtaking. Officially, of course, you got to overtake only on the right side. So basically no undertaking on the left. But people here, they overtake on the right and on the left. That will include people overtaking you as well. So just be aware that people come from the left and the right side when you're riding. Most of the time I try and overtake only on the right, but sometimes, especially in traffic, you can overtake on the left side, and so just keep that in mind as well. The one key takeaway when riding in Bali, try and adopt like a more defensive driving style. Don't go aggressive, overtaking everyone. Make sure that you're kind of taking it slow, confident, and you know what you're doing. Most of the time that just means you just gotta yield to the person in front of you, but that also means people behind you will also follow that same sort of rule. Try and get into the mindset of just letting people slowly do what they need to do and then adapt to that. Overall, that means no sudden movements. So if you want to do a maneuver, make sure you do it smoothly and you don't do things last second. Okay, now moving on to things to watch out for. There are plenty. For example, you're not the only one who's going to be using the road, of course. There's going to be pedestrians and there's going to be drivers. But not only that, there's going to be all sorts of things like animals, dogs, cows, squirrels, chickens, whatever. So just be vigilant and go slow when you do see some animals, because you never know, they might just jump out suddenly. But from what I've experienced, most of them are quite chill and usually just avoid you as long as they're aware that you're there. The other thing is people have a lot of old bikes, so their brake lights might not work and also their blinkers. So just keep a decent distance from the person in front of you and make sure that you give yourself enough reaction time just in case they do stop or they park up on the side of the road. When it comes to turning signals and using the blinkers, that's also another thing to watch out for, because a lot of people here, they don't use them very often, especially when they're parking. But on the opposite side of that is sometimes they just leave them on and they just ride for ages and ages and ages with the blinker on, and you're like, what is this guy doing? Is he gonna turn or is he not gonna turn? So yeah, just be aware of that. Another thing is people overtaking from the opposite side. So with the lane divider in the middle, they will just go on your side of the road and overtake, and you're just expected to just kind of slow down or just move a bit to the left so you give them space to overtake. In traffic, snaking through cars and in front of cars is quite common. So when you're going slow and in between cars, just be aware that people can come out from your left or right, depending on where you are, and kind of cut you off essentially, even in traffic. Another thing is the quality of the road. Here in Bali, the roads can be either very good or just really, really bad. There can be all sorts of construction material laying around, so like gravel, and when you ride over it, it's quite easy to slip. So just take it steady and don't go too fast. Of course, there's potholes and broken roads too. Again, just make sure you don't go too fast and have an accident. And here are a few extra things that I've noticed while riding. Didn't know which section to put it in, so I'll just say it here. A lot of people here use the sidewalk to actually avoid traffic. I've done it a couple times and it's quite normal to do that. Just be aware that there's going to be also pedestrians using the sidewalks, and sometimes you don't know if the sidewalk at the end is going to have a smooth slope down or it's just going to be a concrete like 90-degree angle down. And some of the sidewalks are quite high, so just be careful of that. Many restaurants and shops have their own little parking, but that does mean that they require you to go over a sidewalk. And as I said before, the sidewalks can be kind of steep. So when you're getting onto the parking, just kind of be careful of how fast you're going. On the smaller parking lots, usually there's also a parking manager guy kind of thing. Usually when you exit the parking lot, just, give him 2K. That's usually around about how much they're gonna be expecting. So what he does is kind of wave his flag around and whistles and slows down the traffic for you and gives you like a path to exit the parking lot. The last but very important thing is, obviously you're not gonna know the roads here, so make sure you get a bike that has a phone holder so that you can use like Google Maps or something. Just be aware that Google Maps is kind of wrong with the timing. So I would probably add extra time. So if it's saying like, oh, the journey is gonna take 15 minutes, you can safely assume it's gonna take about 20, maybe even like 25. And the other thing is, I've seen online people say, oh, use your earphones to, listen to Google Maps directions. I would not recommend to do that, because when you use earphones, you're actually decreasing the awareness that you have around you. So just put it in front of you in the phone holder and just use the Google Maps that way. If you miss a turn, don't worry, Maps will just redirect you, or you can just park up on the side of the road, turn around, and then just go the right way. It's only going to take a few extra minutes longer, but at least you won't be reducing your awareness and potentially causing an accident. So yeah, that's about it. I hope now, after watching this video, you kind of know what to expect when riding here. And if I've missed something, put it down in the comments below so other people can see. It's pretty chaotic at the start, but once you're in that chaos, you kind of learn how to maneuver and go with the flow of the traffic. So I definitely recommend you getting the bike, because it's much easier to go around the island and see everything that you want to see. Apart from that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.